Argentina is located in South America, bordered by Chile to the west, Bolivia and Paraguay to the north, Brazil to the northeast, Uruguay and the South Atlantic Ocean to the east, and the Drake Passage to the south. The country is the 8th largest in the world by land area, covering approximately 2.78 million square kilometers. The majority of the country is located in the southern hemisphere, with the Andes Mountains and Patagonia region located in the southern region. The country's capital, Buenos Aires, is located on the Atlantic coast. Argentina's early civilization was primarily made up of indigenous tribes, including the Mapuche, Quelch, and Warp, among others. These groups had developed unique cultures, languages, and social structures prior to the arrival of European settlers in the 16th century. The indigenous people of Argentina lived as nomads, hunters, and farmers and had complex spiritual beliefs and traditions. The arrival of Spanish conquerors in the 16th century brought major changes to the indigenous populations, including the forced conversion to Catholicism, enslavement, and the spread of diseases. The indigenous populations were also greatly reduced as a result of violence and displacement. Despite this, many indigenous communities have managed to preserve their cultural traditions and languages to this day, including the Mapuche people in the Patagonia region and the Quechua people in northwestern Argentina. The indigenous influence is still present in Argentina's culture and can be seen in traditional crafts, music, and dance. Additionally, the use of indigenous words and expressions in the Spanish language is common in many parts of the country. Argentina has a complex history marked by significant events and developments that have shaped its political, social, and economic landscape. The Argentine War of Independence, fought between 1810 and 1818, marked the country's bid for independence from Spanish colonial rule. After several years of struggle, the Argentine people were successful in establishing a sovereign nation and establishing a federal government in Buenos Aires. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Argentina experienced a period of rapid industrialization and economic growth, which led to the country becoming one of the wealthiest nations in the world by the 1930s. This growth was driven by a combination of favorable conditions, including abundant natural resources, a growing population, and access to international markets. However, this period of prosperity was interrupted by political instability and economic downturns, including the Great Depression of the 1930s and a series of military coups in the mid-20th century. One of the most significant events in Argentina's recent history was the Dirty War, which took place from 1976 to 1983. During this time, the military government in power engaged in widespread human rights abuses, including the disappearance of an estimated 30,000 people and the widespread use of torture. In the decades following the Dirty War, Argentina has experienced periods of political and economic instability, marked by inflation, currency devaluation, and high levels of poverty and unemployment. Despite this, the country has made significant progress in recent years, including reducing poverty and inequality, improving access to healthcare and education, and strengthening its democratic institutions. The government and political system of Argentina has evolved significantly over time, reflecting the country's historical, social, and economic developments. Argentina declared independence from Spanish colonial rule in 1816 and established a federal government in Buenos Aires. Throughout much of the 19th century, the country experienced political instability, with frequent changes in leadership and constitutional arrangements. In the early 20th century, The country's political system stabilized with the establishment of a stable democratic government and the adoption of a new constitution. During this time, Argentina became one of the world's wealthiest nations, with a strong economy and growing middle class. However, this period of stability was interrupted by political and economic instability in the mid-20th century, including a series of military coups, economic depression, and widespread poverty and inequality. This instability ultimately led to the establishment of a military dictatorship in 1976, which lasted until 1983. Following the end of the dictatorship, Argentina returned to democratic rule and has since experienced a series of reforms aimed at strengthening its democratic institutions, reducing poverty and inequality, and improving access to healthcare and education. Today, Argentina operates as a federal democratic republic, with a president as its head of state and a bicameral legislature consisting of the Chamber of Deputies and the Senate. The country has a strong tradition of political parties, with major political parties including the Peronist Party, the Radical Civic Union, and the Democratic Progressive Party, among others. Argentina has had several important leaders who have made significant contributions to the country's political, social, and economic development. Some of the most notable leaders include Juan Domingo Perón, 1895–1974, a military officer and politician who served as president of Argentina 3 times. Perón was a charismatic leader who implemented a number of significant social and economic reforms, including the creation of a welfare state, the expansion of workers' rights, and the establishment of state-owned industries. Eva Perón, 1919–1952, the wife of Juan Domingo Perón, Eva was a popular political figure and advocate for women's rights and social justice. She was instrumental in the establishment of the Eva Perón Foundation, which provided assistance to the country's poor and working-class populations. Carlos Menem, born 1930, a former president of Argentina, Menem implemented a series of economic reforms in the 1990s aimed at stabilizing the country's economy and reducing inflation. He also played a key role in strengthening Argentina's relationships with other countries in the region. Nestor Kirchner, 1950–2010, a former president of Argentina, Kirchner played a key role in stabilizing the country's economy following a major financial crisis in 2001. He also implemented a number of social and economic reforms aimed at reducing poverty and inequality, and improving access to healthcare and education. Mauricio Macri, born 1959, a former president of Argentina, Macri was elected in 2015 and implemented a series of reforms aimed at modernizing the country's economy and reducing poverty and inequality. He also played a key role in strengthening Argentina's relationships with other countries in the region, including the United States and Europe. Argentina has a rich and diverse cultural, social, and economic heritage, which has been shaped by a number of significant developments over time. Culturally, Argentina is known for its strong traditions in the arts, including music, dance, theater, and literature. The country is also home to a number of important cultural institutions, including the National Library of Argentina and the National Museum of Fine Arts, which showcase the country's rich artistic heritage. Socially, Argentina has a long history of political and social activism, with a tradition of advocating for human rights and social justice. This has led to a number of important reforms over time, including the expansion of workers' rights, the establishment of a welfare state, and the creation of social programs aimed at reducing poverty and inequality. Economically, Argentina has experienced significant ups and downs over time, with periods of rapid growth and prosperity interspersed with periods of financial instability and economic downturns. Despite this, the country has a rich natural resource base, including abundant farmland and minerals, which have helped to drive its economic growth over time. The impact of these cultural, social, and economic developments has been significant in shaping Argentina's history, culture, and society. The country's rich cultural heritage, strong tradition of political and social activism, and abundant natural resources have helped to make it one of the wealthiest and most prosperous nations in South America. The future of Argentina is uncertain, but the country has many strengths and opportunities that could help it achieve a bright and prosperous future. Economically, Argentina has a number of important advantages, including a rich natural resource base, a large and well-educated workforce, and a strategic location that offers easy access to major markets in South America, North America, and Europe. Additionally, the country has recently implemented a number of reforms aimed at modernizing its economy and attracting foreign investment, which could help to drive growth and development in the years to come. Socially, Argentina has a strong tradition of political and social activism, which has helped to drive important reforms aimed at reducing poverty and inequality, improving access to healthcare and education, and strengthening human rights. This, combined with the country's rich cultural heritage and diverse population, suggests that Argentina has the potential to continue to be a leader in the region on social and political issues. Despite these strengths, Argentina also faces a number of challenges that will need to be addressed in order to secure a bright future. These include ongoing economic instability, high levels of public debt, and a complex political landscape that has been marked by frequent changes in leadership and government. In conclusion, the future of Argentina is uncertain, but the country has many strengths and opportunities that could help it achieve a bright and prosperous future. By addressing its challenges and leveraging its strengths, Argentina has the potential to become a leading nation in South America and a model for social and economic development around the world.